Be me, 24F, graduated last year with a degree in sociology and gender studies. The world is my oyster. Working a comfy remote job for a non-profit, mostly social media management and writing blog posts about why everything is problematic. It's not a job, it's a calling. Live in a small but aesthetically pleasing apartment in the city, 2 hours away from my suburban hometown. Got my Monstera plant, my bookshelf organized by color, and a framed "The Future is Female" poster. I am on the right side of history. My family is complicated. Dad's a classic boomer, good guy I guess, but a walking microaggression, thinks grilling is a personality trait. Mum is a well-meaning but hopelessly outdated second-wave feminist, thinks getting more women into CEO positions will solve everything. Bless her heart. Then there's my brother, Kevin, 21M, the reason I need a glass of wine after every family Zoom call. Kevin is what I'd charitably call unactualized. Still lives at home, dropped out of community college after one semester. His job is door dashing a few hours a day to pay for his gaming PC upgrades and Funko Pops. He inhabits a world of Discord servers, Twitch streams, and Reddit threads. He's quiet, pale, and has the posture of a shrimp. In my academic papers, I would have described him as a casualty of toxic masculinity, unable to emotionally connect and retreating into digital spaces that reinforce his social ineptitude. In my head, I just call him a loser. Our relationship used to be good. I have these vague, warm-toned memories of being kids, playing Super Smash Bros. Melee on the GameCube for hours. I was always Princess Peach, he was always Link, building elaborate Lego castles that he would inevitably defend from my dragon attacks. He was my little brother, my player too. Then I went to high school, got cool friends, discovered parties. He just stayed in his room. Then I went to college and discovered the grand unified theory of everything, the patriarchy. It explained everything. My dad's cluelessness, my mum's internalized misogyny, and especially Kevin. Kevin was male privilege personified, but without any of the benefits. He had the societal expectation of being a provider and a leader, but none of the tools, so he just short-circuited. It was fascinating, in a clinical sort of way. A perfect case study. Last month was Thanksgiving, a mandatory trip back home. The whole car ride I was preparing my mental talking points. Dinner was the usual, Dad talking about his lawn, Mum asking if I'm seeing anyone. Then she turns to Kevin. "Kevin, sweetie, how's the job hunt going?" "You know Mrs. Henderson's son got a position at the logistics company downtown?" Kevin just stares at his mashed potatoes, pushing them around with his fork. "It's fine," he mumbled. "Why are you applying?" "You have to be proactive," Dad chimed in. "Mister, pull yourself up by your bootstraps." Kevin shrugged. "Sent some out. Nobody calls back." "The economy is tough for men right now," I said, trying to steer the conversation into my territory. "The traditional breadwinner model is collapsing, and many men feel a sense of purposelessness because their identity was so tied to it." My parents looked at me with blank faces. Kevin looked at me for the first time all night, a flicker of something in his eyes. "Hope?" "Yeah, it's hard," he said, voice barely a whisper. "Feels like you're supposed to have it all figured out. Here's my opening. Time to educate." "Well, that's the trap of patriarchal expectations, Kev," I said, leaning forward. "For centuries, men have benefited from a system that put them on top. Now that things are becoming more equitable, that privilege is being challenged, and it feels like an attack. It's not. It's just a loss of an unfair advantage." The flicker in his eyes died. He went back to his potatoes. "Oh," he said. My dad sighed. "Can we just have one meal where it's not a sociology lecture? Sorry for trying to have an intelligent conversation, Dad." The rest of the dinner was silent. Later, I heard my mum crying softly in her bedroom. I rolled my eyes, put in my AirPods, and scrolled through TikToks of girls making fun of their boyfriends. Felt vindicated. A few weeks later, I'm on a video call with my best friend from college, Maya. We're complaining about men. It's our favorite pastime. And then he had the audacity to say not all men. I almost threw my oat milk latte at him. Classic weaponized incompetence. I nodded sagely. "Totally. It's like, can you please just acknowledge your privilege for 1 second? Is that so hard?" My phone buzzes. A text from Kevin. "This is rare. Hey, you busy? I show the phone to Maya. Oh, my brother. The case study. She laughed. The one and only. I text back. Kinda. Writing. What's up? A few minutes pass. The three dots appear and disappear. NVM. It's stupid. I roll my eyes. He's so dramatic. What does he even want? Maya asked. Probably money for a new graphics card or something equally pointless. He tried to talk to me last week about being lonely. I was like, welcome to the world. Women have been socialized into being the sole emotional support for centuries. It's not my job to fix his lack of social skills. The logic was so clean, so perfect. It was the same talking point I'd seen in 100 think pieces and arguments online. Exactly, Maya said. It's transactional. They only want emotional support when they need something. It's not real. I felt a little buzz of superiority, my personal life and my political beliefs all seamlessly integrated. I sent one last text to Kevin. If you're feeling down, maybe try going outside or getting a real hobby. The world doesn't owe you happiness. No reply. Felt good. Tough love. Setting boundaries. Life went on. I wrote a semi-viral thread on X deconstructing the problematic elements of Christmas rom-coms. It got 10,000 likes. I was making a difference. Christmas got closer. Mum called, talking about plans. Kevin's been very quiet lately, she said, her voice laced with that specific maternal worry I found so suffocating. He just stays in his room. I'm worried about him, honey. Mum, he's 21. He's not a child. He's a man. Let him figure it out. Coddling him is part of the problem. Male fragility is not your burden to carry. Fragility? He's my son. He seems so sad. He's sad because the world isn't his personal playground anymore. It's a good thing. It's growth. I could hear her take a deep, shaky breath over the phone. I don't understand the way you talk sometimes, she said quietly. I know. But one day you will. We hung up. I felt hollow for a second, then shook it off. This was necessary. Breaking generational cycles is painful work. It was 2 days before I was supposed to drive home for Christmas. I was wrapping up a work project, feeling smug. My phone rang. It was my mum. I let it go to voicemail. I wasn't in the mood for another. I'm worried about Kevin call. She called again immediately. And again. An icy dread started to creep up my spine. This was different. I answered. Hello? It wasn't a voice. It was a sound. A guttural wail of pure, unadulterated agony that didn't sound human. Mum? What's wrong? What happened? I could hear my dad's voice in the background, broken. Let me talk to her. A rustling sound. Sweetheart, my dad said, and his voice was so thin I barely recognized it. It was gone. The boomer bravado, the dad jokes, all of it. Stripped away. Dad? What is going on? You're scaring me. It's Kevin. Sweetheart, Kevin is gone. The words didn't compute. Gone? Gone where? Did he run away? I could hear my dad choke back a sob, a sound I had never heard in my entire life. Honey, he's gone. The world just stopped. What? He ended it. In his room. Your mother found him. I dropped the phone, the plastic clattered on the hardwood floor. I could still hear my dad's tiny, distant voice calling my name, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at my "The Future is Female" poster. The letters seemed to mock me. I don't remember the drive home. It's a black hole in my memory. I walked into the house. It was silent in a way it had never been before. Police cars were gone, but the silence they left behind was deafening. My mum was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. Her face was empty. A building with the windows blown out. My dad was at the kitchen table, his face in his hands, his broad shoulders, the ones that used to carry me when I was little, were slumped in defeat. They looked old. Not just older, but ancient, ruined. No one said anything. There were no words. I walked past them, like a ghost, and went upstairs. His door was closed. There was yellow tape across it, broken. I pushed it open. The first thing that hit me was the smell, a sterile chemical smell of cleaning products trying and failing to cover something metallic and final. The room was just a room. His gaming chair, his desk with 3 monitors, the shelf with his stupid Funko Pops, a pile of laundry in the corner. It was so painfully normal. except for the new rug on the floor by his desk. A dark red, almost brown rug that didn't match anything. I didn't let my mind go there. I felt a desperate, clawing need to understand, to find the reason, to find the piece of the puzzle that my theories couldn't explain. I walked over to his desk. His PC was off. On the mousepad was a single folded piece of notebook paper, a note. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely pick it up. It wasn't for my parents. It was for me. His handwriting was messy, rushed. Hey sis, if you're reading this, I guess I finally did it. Lol. Sorry for the mess. Tell mum and dad I'm sorry. I know what you think of me. I hear you at dinner. I read your texts. A loser, a man-child. Part of the problem. Entitled, Maybe You're Right. I don't know. I just wanted to tell you something before I go. Do you remember when we were kids? We used to play Mario Kart 64 all day in the summer. You always picked Peach. You'd always get mad when I hit you with a red shell right before the finish line. You'd scream and throw the controller and I'd laugh. Then you'd start laughing too. Then we'd play again. That was my favorite thing. Making you laugh. You were my best friend. I had to sit down. My legs gave out. I sank into his gaming chair. It still had the impression of his body in it. I kept reading. When you went to college, you changed. You started using all these big words. You'd talk about the patriarchy and systems and privilege. I tried to understand. I really did. I read some of the stuff you posted. It felt like you were talking in a different language, a language designed to tell me I was bad. Everything I was quiet, shy, liked video games, not good with girls. It was all problematic. It was incel coded. You were so smart. You had it all figured out. A theory for everything. But your theories didn't have room for a person like me to just be sad. The other day you texted me to get a real hobby and that the world doesn't owe you happiness. I wasn't going to ask for money. I was going to ask if you wanted to play Smash Bros. Online. They have the old characters now. It was a stupid idea. I'm so lonely. It's like I'm behind a glass wall. I can see everyone else laughing and talking and connecting, but I can't get through. I tap on the glass, but no one hears me. You were on the other side of the glass, and you just pointed at me and described the glass. You told me the glass was my fault, a cage of my own making, but you never once tried to help me break it. I think I spent so much time looking up to my big sister, I didn't see she'd stop looking back at me. I'm tired of tapping on the glass. I love you. Even though you probably think love is a social construct, your brother, Kevin. The paper fell from my fingers. I couldn't breathe. My entire worldview, the intricate architecture of theory and jargon I had built my identity on for 4 years, was vaporized in an instant. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't an argument. It was a fact, a body, a note. My theories, my clever X threads, my blog posts, my smug conversations with Maya, they were all just words. I had a label for everything and an understanding of nothing. I had diagnosed the illness of modern men, but I couldn't see the sickness in my own brother. Worse, I saw it, and I gave it a condescending name and walked away. I remembered seeing those forums and threads online, the black pill feminism ones that talked about how it was hopeless for women. I always thought they were pathetic, but Kevin wasn't black-pilled. He was just alone. He was reaching out. I clicked the button on his PC tower. It whirred to life. The desktop was a picture of a nebula, deep purples and blues. I opened his browser. There was no incel forum history, no red pill subreddits, just loneliness. Reddit.com/r/lonely. How to make friends in your 20s. Does anyone else feel invisible? Job rejections getting me down. YouTube history. Documentaries about space. Videos of people restoring old video game consoles. And a lot of music. Sad, ambient stuff. The irony was so crushing it felt like a physical weight on my chest. I wasn't just a bystander to his pain. I was an active ingredient. The tough love text. The world doesn't owe you happiness. It wasn't tough love. It was cruelty. It was me. From my perfectly curated life, my position of intellectual and social superiority, kicking a boy who was already on the ground, my brother. The days that followed are a blur. The funeral home, picking a casket, my mother, a zombie, just pointing at a simple wooden one. He liked wood, she whispered. He liked trees. I had no idea if he liked trees. The funeral was small. My parents, my grandparents, a few aunts and uncles, and 4 boys I didn't recognize. They stood awkwardly in the back, all dressed in ill-fitting suits. After the service, I forced myself to walk over to them. Hi, I'm Kevin's sister. We know, one of them said. He wouldn't meet my eye. We were his friends. Online. From his Discord? Yeah. We played Valheim with him every night. He called himself the architect. The architect. Of course he did. He used to build those Lego castles. He was a good guy, another one said. He talked about you sometimes. I braced myself. What did he say? Just that you were really smart. That you were going to change the world. The words hit me harder than an accusation. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't hateful. He was proud of me. Proud of the person who was actively dismantling him. He was really excited for Christmas, the first boy said, finally looking at me. His eyes were red. He bought that new Smash Bros. Game. He said he was going to surprise you with it and see if you still had the skills. I just stared at him. My legs felt weak again. I was going to ask if you wanted to play Smash Bros. Online. It wasn't a stupid idea. It was a life raft, and I had pushed it away. That night, I was back in his room. The house was asleep, sedated with grief. I sat on the floor, leaning against his bed. The bed with the old, faded Legend of Zelda comforter he'd had since he was 10. I looked at the shelf of Funko Pops. Batman, The Mandalorian, Geralt of Rivia. Characters who were loners, heroes who were quiet and burdened. It wasn't a collection of toys. It was a collection of role models. I saw an old Nintendo 64 controller on his nightstand. The grey one with the worn-out joystick, his Link controller. I picked it up. It felt small in my hand, cold, and then it broke. The dam, the intellectual fortress, the wall of jargon and theory. It didn't just crack, it disintegrated into dust. I started to cry. Not the performative, pretty crying of a rom-com. I'm talking about the ugly, soul-tearing sobs that leave you gasping for air. The kind of crying you do when you realize you have made a catastrophic, irreversible mistake. I cried for the little boy who laughed when I threw the controller. I cried for the quiet teenager I ignored. I cried for the lonely young man who just wanted to play a game with his sister. I held his cold plastic controller to my chest and I wailed, "Be me." 24F. My brother is gone. I live in his room now. My parents couldn't bear to be in here. I couldn't bear to be anywhere else. My job is gone. I couldn't write another word. The problematic takes, the deconstructions, they all taste like ash in my mouth. My apartment is empty. My friend Maya tried to call. She said I shouldn't blame myself. She said it was a systemic failure. I told her to fuck off and blocked her number. My theories are gone. My certainty is gone. My entire identity has been burned down to the studs. I sit in his gaming chair every day. I turned on his N64, plugged his controller into Player 1's port, mine into Player 2. The character select screen just stays there, blinking. I spent years learning a language that gave me all the words for power, privilege, and oppression. I learned how to deconstruct a man, to label his flaws, to pathologize his pain, to hold him accountable for the sins of his gender. I weaponized my education, and I called it enlightenment. I saw my brother's pain, and my first instinct was not to comfort, but to critique. He didn't need a sociologist. He just needed a sister. I look at his note every single day. You were my best friend. My feminism didn't take my brother from me. My arrogance did. My pride did. I did. And I have to live with that.